Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If copy system in Naruto. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name in the description below. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 221, the final stretch of the Third Great Ninja War. After testing Mei Terumi's strength, Shin also gave her some pointers on her training. Now that she was one of them, he didn't mind helping her improve. Why is Mei sulking? Did you bully her? Kushina asked Shin when they returned home, noticing Mei Terumi's pouting face. What? Kushina, you're questioning my character. I would never bully a girl. Shin said, feigning indignation. Yes, you would. You've been bullying me since we were kids. Shin was dumbfounded. That was a blatant lie. He had never bullied Kushina. See? You're trying to bully me right now. Kushina said, seeing his indignant expression. You're right. I am going to bully you. Shin grabbed Kushina, who was trying to escape, and gave her a thorough punishment. If she was going to accuse him of bullying, he might as well do it. Mean. Kushina rubbed her red cheeks. Shin had pinched them so hard they were swollen. Shin chuckled, enjoying her frustration. Don't blame me, you asked for it. And I really didn't bully Mei. Yes, you did. Mei Terumi glared at Shin. He had called her weak. Oh? How did I bully you? You said I was weak. You think that's bullying? I was just stating a fact. You are weak. Shin said matter-of-factly. Mei Terumi took a deep breath. She was angry. Back in Kirigakure, she was a renowned ninja, one of the strongest in the village. And now Shin was calling her weak? She wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Compared to him, she really wasn't that strong. Mei Terumi lowered her head dejectedly. She had to train harder. She had always been diligent. Otherwise, she wouldn't have reached the level of an elite jonin at her age. And among elite jonin, she was one of the strongest. After all, she had Kekkai Genkai. Shinobi with Kekkai Genkai were generally stronger than those without. Time passed, and the Third Shinobi World War continued. But it was nearing its end. Compared to the Second Shinobi World War, this war was ending faster but more brutal. Konoha, initially struggling, had turned the tide thanks to Minato Namikaze. They were on the path to victory. Of course, Shin and his team had also contributed to Konoha's advantage. After all, this war was different from the one in the original story. If they hadn't killed the Third Raikage, Konoha's victory wouldn't have been so assured. The Canopy Bridge incident had already occurred, unfolding much like in the original story. Kakashi Hatake had been injured and received a Bito Uchiha Sharingan, while Obito was presumed dead. But in reality, Obito had been saved by Uchiha Madara and was currently recovering at Madara's hideout. And Madara was planning to manipulate Obito into becoming his pawn to revive him. He knew exactly how to exploit an Uchiha's weaknesses, especially one with strong emotional attachments like Obito. His bond with Rin Noara made him an easy target. Boil release, skilled mist technique. Mei Terumi formed hand seals and spewed out a cloud of corrosive mist towards Shin. That's just steam. Shin said, then the mist turned into ice shards before it could reach him. Damn it! My attacks are useless. Mei Terumi stamped her foot in frustration. They're not weak. Just not effective against me. Shin consoled her. If you can learn Sage Mode, your jutsu will become even stronger. But that's a big if. Mei is pretty impressive. She has 2 Kekkai Genkai now, Tsunade said. Mei Terumi had lava release before, and now she also had boil release, both obtained through her own efforts. Even Tsunade was impressed. Mei Terumi was talented, perhaps even more talented than her. You're Quasi-Kage level now, but not quite a true Kage. Your chakra reserves are holding you back. If you had more chakra, you'd be a Kage-level shinobi easily, Shin said, patting Mei Terumi's shoulder. Although Kage level wasn't much in Shin's eyes, it was still a high level of strength in the shinobi world. Even in the great villages, there weren't many Kage level shinobi. Mei Terumi's rapid progress in less than a year was impressive. So you acknowledge my strength? Mei Terumi looked at Shin hopefully. Does strength require acknowledgement? You should acknowledge your own strength. Oh, so you still don't acknowledge my strength. You still think I'm weak. Mei Terumi's joy vanished, and she lowered her head dejectedly. Tsunade, how's your wood release training coming along? Shin asked Tsunade after shrugging at Mei Terumi. Don't even mention it. It's frustrating. Tsunade had been working hard, but there was no progress. She still couldn't grasp wood release. It's not your fault, Tsunade. It's Shin's fault for being a bad teacher, Kushina said. Shin blared at Kushina. While he appreciated her attempt to comfort Tsunade, blaming him wasn't fair. I'm starting to think I'm just not talented, Tsunade said, shaking her head. Keep at it, Tsunade. You'll awaken it eventually. You haven't been practicing for that long. Be patient, Shin said encouragingly. Chapter 222, Meeting Obito Uchiha. White Zetsu, you've got some nerve showing up here. Shin looked at White Zetsu, or rather, Black Zetsu and White Zetsu. White Zetsu was on the left, Black Zetsu on the right. Black Zetsu's presence meant Madara Uchiha was dead. Black Zetsu was the one Madara had entrusted with monitoring Obito and ensuring the plan stayed on track. Madara thought Black Zetsu was a product of his will, but in reality, Black Zetsu served Kagaya Otsutsuki. Madara was just a pawn. After hiding in the shadows for over 1,000 years, Black Zetsu was finally stepping into the light. Black Zetsu looked at Shin without speaking. Shin was an anomaly, a threat to his plan to revive his mother, Kagaya. If possible, Black Zetsu would do anything to eliminate this variable. But he didn't know anything about Shin. He didn't dare attack, and he didn't have any means to defeat Shin. Shin-sama, I came here to tell you something. You're here to tell me that Uchiha Madara is dead, right? Shin asked, glancing at Black Zetsu. How did Shin-sama know? White Zetsu asked in surprise. Get to the point. You're not just here to tell me that, are you? Shin didn't answer White Zetsu's question, and White Zetsu didn't dare to press further. If even Madara couldn't handle Shin, what could it do? Madara-sama chose a pawn to carry out his plan before he died. His name is Obito Uchiha. He has awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan and is quite strong. Obito Uchiha is currently carrying out Madara-sama's will under his name. If you ever cross paths with him, please spare him. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu had come to warn Shin about Obito, hoping to prevent a conflict. Obito was crucial to the Eye of the Moon plan. If he died, there'd be no one to guide the plan. As for Shin, who was Madara's collaborator? Neither Madara nor Black Zetsu had any expectations of him. They would be grateful if Shin didn't interfere. I understand. I'm not that unreasonable. I won't kill him unless he pushes me, Shin said with a smile. Since we're done, you can leave. Black Zetsu and White Zetsu glanced at Shin and left. They were relieved that Shin wouldn't interfere. I forgot to ask about Obito's whereabouts. After they left, Shin realized he had forgotten to ask where Obito was. He wanted to find Obito and copy his Kamui. Kamui was a powerful spacetime ninjutsu. Shin wanted to copy it. Having a personal dimension like Kamui's would be useful for storing things. And Kamui was also quite versatile. The right eye could teleport the user or others into the Kamui dimension, and it could also make the user intangible. The weakness was that it had a time limit. In its single eye state, it could only be used for 5 minutes before the user had to wait another 5 minutes to use it again. But this weakness wouldn't apply to Shin. His ocular power was far greater than Obito's. In terms of ocular power, Shin was second to none. The left eye could teleport objects or people over long distances. It could also be used to attack the Kamui dimension. Shin used Yamatsu Hirasaka to intercept Black Setsu and White Setsu. Tell me where Obito Uchiha is. Shin said. Shin-sama, why are you looking for Obito Uchiha? White Setsu asked cautiously. I just want to meet him. He must be special to be chosen by Uchiha Madara as his pawn, Shin said calmly. Obito was indeed special. He might have been a loser before, but now he was powerful. Please don't interfere with Madara-sama's plan. He might be dead, but he has contingencies. Black Zetsu said in a deep voice. Oh? Black Zetsu, is that a threat? Shin looked at Black Zetsu, his eyes narrowed slightly. Although he didn't release his chakra, Black Zetsu still felt a sense of danger. He was shocked. This was the first time he had felt true fear, a sense of impending doom. Shin-sama, you knew he was Black Zetsu without me even saying it. Black Zetsu didn't mean anything by it. Please forgive him, Shin-sama. White Zetsu immediately started groveling, inwardly cursing Black Zetsu. Although they were currently one being, their relationship wasn't good. Though they appeared as one, their relationship wasn't good. Black Zetsu looked down on White Zetsu, knowing its origins as a creation of Kagaya Otsutsuki. Shin frowned at the fawning White Zetsu, then said impatiently, Take me to Obito Uchiha. Yes, right away. White Zetsu nodded quickly. Black Zetsu didn't object either. He didn't dare. He could sense that Shin could really kill him. He decided to be cautious. Following Black Zetsu and White Zetsu, Shin finally met Obito Uchiha, a truly pitiful pawn. Zetsu, who is this? The masked Obito frowned. Zetsu had brought a stranger to meet him without even asking. This is Uzumaki Shin, Madara-sama's collaborator. There's no need to hide your identity in front of him, White Zetsu said. Obito frowned and looked at Shin, feeling even more annoyed. He didn't know Madara had a partner. Madara had never mentioned it. He clearly didn't trust Obito. Chapter 223, Why do you also have Kamui? As Obito Uchiha looked at him, Shin was also looking at Obito. He looked at the masked Obito, his aura dark and gloomy. It was hard to imagine that Obito was once a cheerful boy. So you're the famous Reaper of the shinobi world? Obito's eyes had turned into the Mangekyo Sharingan, and his aura was sharp. He didn't notice the anxiety in White Zetsu's eyes. This guy better not do anything stupid. According to the information he had gathered, Shin Uzumaki was ruthless. If Obito was killed, they would have to activate the backup plan, a contingency plan Madara had left behind. Kids these days are so presumptuous. Are you trying to intimidate me? Shin wasn't angered by Obito's attempt to assert dominance. System, use an advanced replication card to copy the Mangekyo Sharingan's Kamui ability. Shin said to the system. He had 7 common replication cards, 2 advanced replication cards, and 1 divine replication card. He wasn't short on cards to copy dojutsu. He had created the divine replication card by combining 5 advanced replication cards. He felt nothing as he copied Kamui, but he could now sense the existence of the Kamui dimension. His own personal Kamui dimension, separate from Obito's. Honestly, I'm disappointed. You're weak. Shin said, looking at Obito. Obito's strength wasn't that impressive. He was only dangerous because of Kamui. But even Kamui wasn't invincible. There were ways to counter it. Yamatsu Hirasaka could allow him to enter Obito's Kamui dimension. And there was also the sealing technique, spatial lock, which could temporarily disable Kamui. Without Kamui, Obito was at most an elite jonin. That was why Shin called him weak. But it was understandable. Obito was still young. Not everyone was a cheat like Shin. You think I'm weak? Obito's eyes narrowed dangerously, and he attacked Shin with his kunai. His attack was ruthless, aimed at Shin's vitals. Is there a problem calling you weak? Shin ignored Obito's attack, which passed right through him as if he was an illusion. What? Obito's eyes widened in shock. It wasn't because his attack failed. He hadn't expected it to work anyway. Shin was the Reaper of the shinobi world. If such a simple attack could harm him, he wouldn't deserve his title. What shocked Obito was that Shin had used his own Kamui. How can you also use Kamui? Obito's face paled. His most prized ability, the one he was most proud of, was also possessed by someone else? Hadn't Madara said that every Mangekyo Sharingan was different? That there were no duplicate abilities? Obito felt betrayed. Surprised? There's nothing to be surprised about, Shin said, enjoying Obito's shock. He wondered what Madara's expression would be if he saw Shin use limbo, border jail. Too bad Madara was dead. He probably wouldn't see Madara again for at least 10 or 20 years. But the future was uncertain. Perhaps Madara wouldn't even have the chance to be revived. You also have the Mangekyo Sharingan? Your ability is also Kamui? Obito asked. He knew Shin had the Sharingan. It wasn't a secret. During the Second Shinobi World War, Shin had used the Susanoo to wreak havoc. Everyone knew he had the Sharingan. Black Zetsu looked at Shin, trying to glean more information. That's right. Shin nodded calmly. It's a shame you only have one eye, Shin said, shaking his head. Bastard! Are you looking down on me? Obito's fragile ego was bruised. He thought Shin was mocking him. Shin wasn't mocking him. He was just disappointed that he had only copied the right eye's Kamui. The left eye was still with Kakashi Hatake. If Obito had both eyes, Shin could have copied both abilities. You'll pay for that. Obito roared and attacked Shin relentlessly. As the wielder of Kamui, he knew its weakness. If he attacked continuously for 5 minutes, he could break through Kamui's intangibility. 5 minutes passed, and Obito was drenched in sweat, but he continued attacking. Another 5 minutes passed, 10 in total, yet Shin stayed in the Kamui intangibility state the entire time. Impossible. How can you use Kamui continuously? Obito asked, unwilling to accept this. My power is beyond your comprehension. Shin grabbed Obito's neck and lifted him. Obito couldn't resist at all. My Kamui, it's not working? Obito was shocked. Black Zetsu was silent. He couldn't show any emotions on his dark face, but inwardly he was panicking. Obito's Kamui was powerful, even troublesome to Black Zetsu. And now Shin possessed it as well? And he could even counter Obito's Kamui with ease. Shin was holding Obito like a chicken. Chapter 224, Does Mei Terumi have a crush on me? Shin-sama, please calm down. White Zetsu pleaded, watching Shin hold Obito by the throat. He was afraid Shin would kill him. Shin-sama, his death wouldn't benefit you, Black Zetsu also said. He was the most worried. Obito was crucial to his plan. He couldn't let anything happen to Obito before Madara was revived. I'll spare you for Kamui's sake. Consider it a pardon for attacking me. Shin tossed Obito aside like a ragdoll. He crashed to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. Cough, cough. Obito clutched his throat, glaring at Shin with a mixture of anger and fear. Inform me of your plans. All of them. Shin looked at Black Zetsu and Obito. Are you planning to participate, Shin-sama? Black Zetsu was worried. Would Shin disrupt his plan? Do you have a problem with that? Shin's sharp gaze pierced through Black Zetsu, making him unable to meet Shin's eyes. No. Black Zetsu realized Shin was more dangerous than it had anticipated. Just his gaze was oppressive. He hoped the plan would succeed. Once Kagaya was revived, Uzumaki Shin wouldn't be a threat. Black Zetsu believed his mother was invincible. No one could defeat her. She was a true goddess. Shin left. His main goal was to copy Obito's Kamui, and he had achieved that. After Shin left, Obito got up, his face filled with anger. Obito, I advise you not to do anything you'll regret. You're not a match for Uzumaki Shin, Black Zetsu said. Aren't you Madara's will? Why are you so spineless in front of him? Obito scoffed. I'm Madara's will, but I'm not Madara. Obito, Black Zetsu's right. Even Madara-sama was wary of Uzumaki Shin. Frankly, you're not strong enough to challenge him. White Zetsu's words were harsh, almost making Obito explode. If you want to become stronger, I can give you some advice. Retrieve your other eye. Only with both eyes can you unleash the true power of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Black Zetsu said. He wanted Obito to become stronger. The stronger Obito was, the easier it would be to complete the Eye of the Moon plan and revive Kagaya Otsutsuki. Don't mention that again. Obito blared at Black Zetsu, silencing it. Though he had seen Kakashi kill Rin with his own eyes, he still couldn't bring himself to harm his former friend and teammate. Rin wasn't his only love, he also cared deeply for Kakashi. Shin, where did you go? Shin had just returned home when Kushina looked at him suspiciously, like she was interrogating a criminal. She even leaned closer and sniffed him. What are you doing? Shin asked, speechless. It seems you didn't sneak out to meet another girl, Kushina said. You're delusional. Why would I go looking for other women when I have you all? Shin flicked her forehead. Kushina rubbed her head, pouting. Kushina's suspicion isn't unreasonable. The honeymoon phase doesn't last forever, Tsunade said. And Shin is the type to act on his impulses, Makoto added. My reputation isn't very good, is it? Shin sighed dramatically. He didn't think his image was that bad. He sat down, poured himself a cup of tea, and said, I actually went out to do something. I forgot to tell you guys. What was it? Kushina asked curiously. Kushina was always curious. Shin didn't hide it from them. It wasn't anything shady. If he did hide it, they would be even more suspicious. Madara Uchiha is dead. Zetsu came to tell me, and I went to see the pawn he chose. Madara Uchiha is dead? Tsunade was happy to hear that. She had been waiting for Madara to die for a long time. If Madara had wanted to, he could have lived for a few more years. But he probably didn't want to live like that anymore, so he had made his preparations and died peacefully. Who's the pawn Madara chose? Uchiha Obito. He's a member of the Uchiha clan, Minato Namake's student. A hidden genius. Obito might have been a loser in the academy, but he was actually a genius. He had awakened the Tsutomu Sharingan right away, then the Mangekyo Sharingan. Where are Konan and Mei? Shin hadn't seen them since he returned. They went to train. You know how diligent Konan is. And Mei is also working hard, probably because of you, Makoto said with a smile. Because of me? Shin looked at her in confusion. What did Mei Terumi's training have to do with him? You forgot? You kept saying she was weak. So she wants to prove herself. I think she might have a crush on you. Tsunade's gaze sharpened. Nonsense. I didn't notice anything. Shin ignored Tsunade's glare and shook his head. He hadn't noticed any romantic interest from Mei. Chapter 225, Shin must be up to no good. Shin, I wasn't kidding. I think that girl really has a thing for you. Makoto, Kushina, what do you think? Tsunade looked at Makoto and Kushina. Does she? Kushina asked, confused. She hadn't noticed. She thought Mei and Shin didn't get along very well. Tsunade shook her head. She shouldn't have asked Kushina. Maybe. Mei seems to care about what you think, Shin, Makoto said after a moment of thought. Bam! Don't talk nonsense. I have no feelings for him. Mei Terumi burst into the room, her face flushed, vehemently denying their accusations. She had just returned and overheard their conversation. She glared at Shin. How dare they say she liked him? He was so annoying. Ouch, saying that in front of me hurts my feelings. You're making me feel like I'm not attractive. Shin flicked her forehead. Just you wait. One day I'll beat you up. Mei Terumi threatened. Girl, you've got guts. Good luck with that. Kushina stood behind Mei, patting her shoulder, and smirked. Mei Terumi felt a bit nervous after making her bold statement, but when she saw Shin looking at her, she raised her chin defiantly. She wouldn't back down. Well, you guys keep chatting, I'll be taking her outside for a little lesson. Shin stood up with a smile and dragged Mei Terumi away. Mei Terumi struggled, but it was futile. She vowed not to give in, she had her pride. What's going on? Conan had just entered and saw Shin dragging Mei Terumi away. She had returned later than Mei Terumi and didn't know what had happened. Mei Terumi was being a smart aleck and got dragged away by Shin for punishment, Kushina said with a grin, imagining Mei Terumi's miserable state. Shin soon returned with Mei Terumi, who was now meekly following behind him, looking completely defeated. That was fast. Kushina wanted to tease her. She had been acting all tough before, but she surrendered so quickly. Still planning to beat me to a pulp? Shin asked Mei Terumi with a smile. No, I wouldn't dare. Mei Terumi shook her head quickly, her previous arrogance gone. Alright, sit down. Why are you standing? Shin looked at Mei Terumi and pulled her towards a chair. Mei Terumi glared at him. Sit down? She couldn't even stand properly. Her butt was swollen. No, I'll stand, Mei Terumi said through gritted teeth. She wanted to bite Shin. Kushina, Makoto, Tsunade, and Conan looked at her strangely. Mei Terumi didn't want them to find out about her punishment. It was too embarrassing. She quickly took a few steps back, trying to hide it. Thankfully, they didn't notice. Mei Terumi sighed in relief, but she still couldn't sit down. She glared at Shin again, then excused herself and went to her room. She didn't want to be exposed. After Mei Terumi left, Kushina and the others glared at Shin. Shin nii, what did you do? Conan asked. Nothing. If you want to know, ask Mei Terumi. But I doubt she'll tell you. Shin wouldn't tell them. Mei Terumi would probably kill him if he did. Judging by how she's acting, Shin must have done something inappropriate, Kushina said. Shin nii, I have some training questions. Can you help me? Conan sat down beside Shin. She had wanted to ask Shin before, but he wasn't there. What is it? The Flying Thunder God technique. I think I'm getting the hang of it, but there are still some things I don't understand. Conan, you're learning the Flying Thunder God technique? Tsunade looked at her in surprise. Tsunade had also tried to learn the Flying Thunder God technique before, after seeing how convenient Shin's spacetime ninjutsu was. But she wasn't talented in that area and couldn't learn it. Not just her, but Makoto and Kushina had also tried to learn it, but none of them succeeded. Yes, I've been practicing for a while now, and I'm starting to understand it, Conan nodded. It was a difficult technique. That's impressive. I couldn't even get started, Kushina said. She had given up on learning the Flying Thunder God technique long ago. Conan, what don't you understand? I can explain it to you, Shin said. He understood the Flying Thunder God technique well, having studied it thoroughly. Although he had Yamatsu Hirasaka, a superior spacetime ninjutsu, he still learned the Flying Thunder God technique to expand his knowledge. He had a natural talent for spacetime ninjutsu, and his understanding of spatial manipulation was already quite advanced. He'd mastered it quickly and was confident his understanding surpassed even Minato Namake's. I can't seem to create the Flying Thunder God formula. The Flying Thunder God technique couldn't be used for teleportation without the Flying Thunder God formula. Shin nodded, then asked Kushina, Makoto, and Tsunade, I see. Do you three want to learn it too? No, thanks. I'd like to, but I know I can't, Kushina shook her head. She had already given up on learning the Flying Thunder God technique. Makoto and Tsunade also refused. Shin didn't force them. Without talent in spacetime ninjutsu, it was impossible to learn the Flying Thunder God technique. Shin then taught Conan alone, sharing his understanding of the technique with her. Conan had made some progress, which meant she had some talent in spacetime ninjutsu. Perhaps she could really learn it. Conan listened attentively, taking notes and planning to study them later. Chapter 226, Eliminating Yahiko? During this period, Shin mostly stayed in the land of whirlpools, helping Conan with the Flying Thunder God. Thanks to her natural gifts and Shin's thorough guidance, Conan finally grasped the fundamentals of space-time ninjutsu. She had progressed to the point of performing the jutsu, though slowly. But with enough practice, she'd soon master it. "Can you help me with my training?" Mei Terumi asked Shin, who was practicing taijutsu. "Sure. But my back is sore. Give me a massage first," Shin asked with a smile. Mei Terumi wanted to leave, but she stopped herself. She gritted her teeth and walked towards Shin. "Fine. But I hope you'll keep your word. I don't want to do this for nothing." "Don't worry, I won't trick you. If you do a good job, I'll give you a solid training session," Shin reassured her. "And what if I don't do a good job?" Mei had caught the loophole in his words. "Then I won't be in the mood to teach." "Is that even a question?" Shin rolled his eyes. Mei Terumi also rolled her eyes. What was she supposed to do if he wasn't satisfied? "Do you think I'd trick you?" Shin asked, looking at her. "How do you know? Do you have some kind of mind-reading ability?" Mei took a step back, looking at him warily. "I don't have that kind of ability. But you're acting very suspicious. Are you hiding something?" Shin looked at her suspiciously. "Even if I am, why should I tell you?" Mei Terumi said with a huff, then started massaging Shin's shoulders. "You seem annoyed, but your actions say otherwise," Shin commented. "So, are you satisfied?" "So. But I don't have time to train you today. Maybe in a few days." Shin patted Mei's head and stood up. Mei Terumi was speechless. He was treating her like a child. "By the way, tell Kushina and the others that I have something to do and will be back in a few days," Shin said, then disappeared. "How am I supposed to explain that?" "Why don't you tell them yourself?" Mei Terumi muttered dejectedly. She knew they would ask her where Shin had gone. Shin left the land of whirlpools and appeared beside White Setsu, who was holding a special Flying Thunder God kunai. Shin had given this kunai to White Setsu so he could contact Shin whenever he needed to. As long as White Setsu channeled chakra into the kunai, Shin would sense it. "White Setsu, what's the matter?" Shin asked. This was just a White Setsu clone, not the original. "Shin-sama, Uchiha Obito is planning to persuade Nagato Uzumaki to carry out the Eye of the Moon plan." "I'm here to inform you," White Setsu said directly. He knew Shin didn't like wasting time. "Are you interested in coming along, Shin-sama?" White Setsu asked. "Oh, might be fun to watch." Shin disappeared and reappeared beside Obito Uchiha. He had placed a Flying Thunder God mark on Obito the last time they met. Obito didn't know about it. He didn't even know Shin could use the Flying Thunder God technique. After all, everyone knew that only Minato Namikaze, the Yellow Flash, could use the Flying Thunder God technique. "How did you get here?" Obito was alert and immediately noticed Shin. He looked at Shin warily. "Don't be so tense. I'm Madara's partner, remember?" "I have no intention of harming you," Shin said with a smile, ignoring Obito's vigilance. Obito sneered inwardly. Madara's partner? He didn't believe it. "Aren't you going to see Nagato Uzumaki? Let's go." Shin started walking, leaving a confused and suspicious Obito behind. "Damn it, Zetsu. Must have sold me out," Obito hissed under his breath. Only he and Zetsu knew about his plan to meet with Nagato. He couldn't confront Zetsu now, though. He had to follow Shin and figure out what he was up to. He wasn't the naive Obito he used to be. "Anyone who tries to stop me from creating a world with Rin is my enemy," Obito thought to himself, his eyes flashing with determination. Don't look at me like that. Haven't you learned your lesson? Shin turned around and looked at Obito calmly. Obito felt immense pressure from Shin's gaze and quickly lowered his head. They arrived in Amagakure and easily found Nagato Uzumaki, thanks to the information provided by Zetsu. This guy isn't suitable for the Eye of the Moon plan. Obito frowned as he watched Nagato from the shadows. According to Zetsu's information, Obito had learned about Nagato's personality. Nagato was currently following Yahiko's lead. How could he convince Nagato to carry out the Eye of the Moon plan in this situation? This Yahiko. Obito looked at Yahiko's cheerful smile with disgust. He hated this kind of people now, including his teacher, Minato Namikaze. It was because of Minato that he hated cheerful people. He hated Minato for not saving Rin. Minato didn't deserve to be a teacher. If you want Nagato to carry out the plan, you have to get rid of Yahiko, Shin said, glancing at Obito. Yahiko might not be strong, but his existence was important. As long as Yahiko was alive, Nagato would never turn evil. He has to die, Obito said, looking at Yahiko with killing intent. Yahiko's existence was hindering the Eye of the Moon plan, hindering his dream of creating a world with Rin. So Yahiko had to die. Chapter 227, Obito starts to manipulate Nagato. Obito Uchiha wanted to eliminate Yahiko, but he couldn't think of a good way to do it. He looked at Shin. You want me to eliminate Yahiko? Shin asked, catching Obito's gaze. Killing a mere elite jonin shouldn't be a problem for you, should it? It's not a problem, but why would I do it? Shin asked. You're Madara's partner. Don't you want to complete the Eye of the Moon plan? If Yahiko doesn't die, it'll be difficult to use Nagato. Obito said calmly. He had become quite clever after turning evil. I'm not in a hurry to complete the Eye of the Moon plan. I don't really care about it. Shin said truthfully. He didn't care if the plan failed. Obito frowned. Hearing Shin's indifference, he doubted Shin had ever truly cooperated with Madara. What Obito didn't know was that Madara had been forced to cooperate with Shin. There was no real partnership between them. Shin had needed Madara to revive Kaguya Otsutsuki so he could copy her immortality. But now that he had achieved immortality, there was no need for cooperation. Let's go see Nagato Uzumaki first. Shin jumped down from the tree and headed towards the Akatsuki's base. Obito was annoyed by Shin's unilateral action. He did want to see Nagato and persuade him, but he hadn't planned on meeting Nagato with Yahiko present. But now that Shin was already going, Obito had no choice but to follow. This place really is primitive. Shin looked at the Akatsuki's base. It was just a cave with dozens of people gathered inside. We meet again. Shin said with a smile, looking at Yahiko and Nagato. This was their second meeting. The first time was when Shin went to copy the Rinnegan. It's you! Yahiko became wary. Nagato also stepped forward, ready to fight, and shielded Yahiko. They had been knocked unconscious by Shin's overwhelming chakra pressure the last time they met, so they were cautious this time. You still remember me? I'm honored. Shin smiled and entered the cave. Yahiko and Nagato followed him, their faces grim. The other Akatsuki members waited outside. Obito also entered the cave. Reaper of the Shinobi World. We don't recall provoking you, Yahiko said. After their last encounter, Yahiko had investigated Shin and learned his infamous title. He'd been terrified. It was a miracle they were spared. You haven't, and I never said you did. Shin said. Yahiko was speechless. Then why was Shin here? And with a masked man who looked like a villain? Yahiko glanced at Obito. He didn't trust this guy. He's the one who wanted to see you. I'm just here for the show. Shin said, creating a wooden chair with wood release and sitting down. Obito's eyes widened. Shin could also use wood release? Did he also transplant Hashirama Senju's cells? Shin didn't know Obito was thinking that. If he did, he would scoff. He had Kekiai Mora. Why would he need such a low-level method to obtain wood release? Besides, Obito's wood release was just a cheap imitation. It wasn't powerful, and Obito didn't even bother developing it. He relied entirely on his Mangekyo Sharingan. And who are you? Yahiko looked at Obito. He was more wary of Obito than Shin. Obito, with his mask and sinister aura, seemed like a villain straight out of a storybook. I am Uchiha Madara. Obito said in a deep voice, trying to disguise his voice, but it still didn't sound like Madara. Of course, it didn't matter. Yahiko and Nagato had never met Madara or heard his voice. Yahiko was stunned for a moment, then realized Obito was lying. Uchiha Madara was dead. Everyone knew that. Obito had expected their disbelief. If he was alone, he would have to spend more time convincing them. But Shin was here now. He can prove that I'm Uchiha Madara, Obito said, pointing at Shin. If Shin helped him lie, Yahiko and Nagato would be more likely to believe him. Sorry, I don't know anyone by that name, Shin said with a smile. Obito was stunned. He looked at Shin, his expression darkening. Thankfully, his mask hid his face. Believe it or not, I am Uchiha Madara. Obito forced himself to sound indifferent. Explaining further would only cheapen the act, so better to stay vague and mysterious. Even if you are Uchiha Madara, what's your purpose here? Yahiko's eyes narrowed. If this man was really Madara, then he was even more dangerous. Purpose? I'm not here for you. I'm here for Nagato. Obito looked at Nagato, who had been silent. He didn't want to talk to Yahiko. For me? Nagato finally spoke, looking at the masked man in confusion. Because of your eyes, the legendary Rinnegan, the Sage of Six Paths eyes, the eyes that hold the power of creation and destruction. Nagato, be cautious. This man has no good intentions. Yahiko immediately realized Obito's intentions after hearing his words. He was worried Nagato would be deceived. Obito was furious. He had to get rid of Yahiko. He couldn't manipulate Nagato with Yahiko around. Since you possess the Rinnegan, you must understand its purpose, Obito said to Nagato, hiding his killing intent. Shin watched the scene with amusement. He knew Obito was trying to deceive Nagato. Chapter 228, Shin, what a dumb dream. Nagato, who had been impassive, looked at Obito with a flicker of interest. The Rinnegan's purpose? What purpose? Nagato asked. He had learned from his teacher, Jiraiya, that he possessed the Rinnegan. Jiraiya had also told him that he was the child of prophecy who would bring change to the shinobi world and hoped he would use the Rinnegan wisely. Obito smiled inwardly. He wasn't afraid of Nagato not believing him. He was afraid of Nagato remaining silent. The Rinnegan is the eyes of the Sage of Six Paths, the ancestor of shinobi. Legend has it that it holds the power to create and destroy, the ultimate eyes that control life and death. Obito said in a deep voice. Shin, watching Obito's performance, was impressed. Obito had truly embraced his role as a villain. He knew Obito used to be a goofy kid. Now he was firmly on the path of a villain. Madara had chosen his pawn well. Shin was stronger than Madara, but when it came to manipulating people, even he had to admit that Madara was superior. Yahiko frowned at Obito but didn't interrupt him. Even if Obito was trying to deceive Nagato, Yahiko believed he could foil Obito's plan as long as he was here. Nagato, only the Rinnegan can bring peace to the shinobi world. Don't you want to bring peace to the world? Obito asked after his speech. Yahiko was almost moved by Obito's words. His goal was to achieve peace. Nagato's heart stirred. This was Yahiko's wish, and Yahiko's wish was his wish. He was moved by Obito's words. How can I achieve world peace? Nagato asked the masked man. It's simple. Use overwhelming force. In the face of absolute power, no one will dare start a war. That's how you achieve peace. Obito saw that Nagato was about to be persuaded and pressed on. That's nonsense. Yahiko interrupted before Nagato could respond. This masked man's method of achieving peace was completely different from his. Yahiko wanted people to understand each other, communicate with each other, and resolve all conflicts peacefully, not through violence. Even if peace is achieved through violence, it's a false peace. Only through communication and understanding can the shinobi world become one big family. That's true peace. How naive. You must have never experienced the harsh reality of the world. Shin couldn't help but comment. He knew Yahiko was naive, but he didn't expect him to be this naive. Yahiko glared at Shin angrily. He felt Shin was mocking his dream. Shin was indeed mocking him. How naive could he be to have such a dream? That kind of peace was a childish fantasy. It would never happen. Conflicts between people couldn't be resolved through communication alone. If they could, there wouldn't be any wars. Yahiko, a war orphan who'd grown up amidst violence, having such a dream was ironic. No matter how strong you are, you can't mock my dream. Yahiko yelled at Shin. Why not? Your ridiculous dream deserves to be mocked, Shin said disdainfully. Shin wasn't trying to be cruel, but Yahiko's dream was simply too ridiculous. If you really want to achieve world peace, deterrence through force is the way to go. At least it can achieve temporary peace. If they wanted peace, Shin thought deterrence was more reliable than Yahiko's method. As for achieving peace through communication and understanding, that was impossible, unless everyone in the world was as naive as Yahiko. Madara's plan to trap everyone in a dream with infinite Tsukuyomi was too extreme. It wasn't peace, it was destruction. Of course, Shin didn't care about peace. Whether it was peace or chaos, it wouldn't affect his life. I'll never agree with that. Yahiko blared at Obito and Shin with hostility. To him, neither the masked man nor Shin was a good person. Shin was the reaper of the shinobi world, rumored to have killed tens of thousands of people. Well, tens of thousands was an exaggeration. Although Shin had killed many people, it wasn't that many. It was just propaganda to discredit him. Obito scowled inwardly at Yahiko's stubbornness, wishing he could kill Yahiko. If you're trying to use us, then leave. I'll achieve world peace with my own power, Yahiko said, issuing an eviction order. What a dumb dream. Go back to sleep and dream about it. Shin stood up and left. He didn't want to stay with this naive idiot any longer. He thought Yahiko's dream was idiotic. Even Madara's infinite Tsukuyomi was more realistic. In the shinobi world, how could you solve problems without violence? How could you achieve peace without force? There were constant conflicts even among average people, let alone ninja who wielded power. Obito hesitated for a moment after seeing Shin leave, then turned to leave as well. He realized his plan had failed. With Yahiko around, there was no way to sway Nagato. Before leaving, he turned back. You can't achieve peace like this. Nagato, think about it. Only the power of the Rinnegan can deter the 5 great villages and achieve true peace. After saying that, Obito left, leaving Nagato deep in thought. Nagato, don't tell me he convinced you? Yahiko asked, looking at Nagato with concern. Nagato, remember, violence solves nothing. It only perpetuates hatred and conflict. It's meaningless. Yahiko looked at Nagato seriously. He didn't want Nagato to be swayed by Obito's words. I know, Yahiko. I'll help you achieve your dream, Nagato said with a smile. He only smiled when he was with Yahiko. It was clear they shared a special bond. Yahiko looked at Nagato and nodded with relief. He was glad Nagato hadn't been deceived. Chapter 229, Shin offers advice. What do we do now? Obito asked Shin after they left. He was out of ideas. Nagato hadn't reacted at all to his speech. Obito knew his words had been ineffective. Simple. Kill that naive Yahiko, Shin said, glancing at Obito. If you're going to kill him, I'll even sponsor you with a kunai. Shin pulled out a kunai and offered it to Obito. Obito looked at the kunai, his lips twitching. Did he need a sponsored kunai? He needed Shin to help him kill Yahiko. Obito wanted to do it himself, but Nagato never left Yahiko's side. He couldn't find an opportunity to strike. And if he attacked recklessly, he might not be able to kill Yahiko and would also be discovered by Nagato, ruining everything. I want you to kill Yahiko. With your strength, you should be able to do it without anyone noticing. Though I do find Yahiko annoying, I'm not going to kill him. Shin refused. Killing Yahiko wouldn't be difficult, but it was Obito's problem, not his. And there was no benefit for him, so why bother? But I can give you some advice. Shin smiled. Obito felt a chill run down his spine. That smile, was Shin plotting something? He was already wary of Shin, now he was even more so. You look like you're afraid I'll kill you. Relax, you're still useful. I won't kill you so easily. Shin saw through Obito's wariness and reassured him. You don't have to kill Yahiko yourself. Hanzo, the leader of Amagakure, is wary of the Akatsuki. You can use that to your advantage. Oh, and there's also Danzo. If you tell him about the Rinnegan, he'll immediately send people to deal with the Akatsuki. Yahiko, in the original story, had been killed by Hanzo and Danzo. Reveal the Rinnegan's existence? Obito frowned. That wasn't a good idea. The Rinnegan was one of the 3 great dojutsu. Though few had seen it, its reputation was legendary. It was said to hold the power of creation and destruction, a bit of an exaggeration. Though the Rinnegan was godlike, it couldn't create or destroy the world. If the Rinnegan is revealed, won't Nagato be in danger? Are you stupid? If Nagato is in danger, that's a good thing for you. You can save him and gain his trust. Shin said, looking at Obito as if he were an idiot. Couldn't Obito even figure that out? Obito felt a twinge of annoyance at being treated like an idiot, but he held back his anger. He couldn't defeat Shin, his Kamui was useless against him. I've given you the plan. If you still can't kill Yahiko, you might as well commit suicide and forget about the Eye of the Moon plan. Where are you going? Obito asked as Shin turned to leave. The plan to eliminate Yahiko wasn't complete yet. And as Madara's collaborator, shouldn't Shin contribute to the Eye of the Moon plan? I'm returning to the land of whirlpools. Let me know when the plan succeeds. I'll come watch the show. Shin wasn't interested in chatting with the newly blackened Obito. Damn it! Is he really Madara's collaborator? Obito yelled angrily after Shin left. He is, Obito. You should be more respectful towards him, Zetsu said, suddenly appearing. It was a warning. Don't sneak up on me like that again, or I'll kill you. Obito glared at Zetsu. Understood, Obito. Zetsu was startled by Obito's glare and quickly agreed. It wasn't strong enough to challenge Obito, its specialty was gathering intel, not combat. Uzumaki Shin doesn't seem interested in the Eye of the Moon plan. Why did Madara collaborate with him? I can't tell you. Ask Madara-sama when he's revived. Hopefully he'll tell you then. Poof. Obito no longer trusted Zetsu completely. It had revealed his plans to Shin. He could only trust himself. But Zetsu was still useful. Zetsu, I have a task for you. Go to Konoha and tell Danzo Shimura about the Rinnegan. Obito had decided to follow Shin's plan. He wouldn't go to Konoha himself. He wasn't that reckless, not after Shin's lesson. He knew he wasn't strong enough to survive a trip to Konoha. Obito, did I hear you correctly? Why would you reveal the Rinnegan's existence? Shouldn't we keep it a secret? Zetsu was shocked. Was Obito out of his mind? Just do as I say. No questions. Fine, I'll do it. Zetsu didn't argue further. Perhaps Obito had a plan. It didn't believe Obito would sabotage the Eye of the Moon plan. He wanted to see Rin no Era again, after all. Chapter 230, Looking Forward to Your Next Screw-Up. Shin looked at Kushina, who was staring at him with suspicion. It wasn't just Kushina, Tsunade, Makoto, and Konan were also looking at him with the same expression. Did I do something wrong? I didn't tell you guys I was leaving, but I asked Mei to tell you, Shin said, confused. He thought they were angry because he left without telling them. Mei already told us everything. Honesty is the best policy, Kushina said with a smirk. Shin was confused. He looked at Mei Terumi, who avoided his gaze. What did she tell you? Shin was certain Mei had framed him. He just didn't know what she had said. She said you went out to meet your lover, Tsunade said. Shin's face darkened. It seemed Mei Terumi needed another spanking. And you believed her? Shin glared at them. Of course not. We're just waiting to see how you'll punish her, Kushina said, grinning at Mei Terumi. Mei Terumi's jaw dropped. You didn't believe me? She had thought Kushina was genuinely angry. Had she been acting? No. I know Shin. If he had a lover, he'd be open about it, not sneaking around. Kushina said, looking at Shin. Kushina, you know me so well, Shin said with a smile. We grew up together, after all, Kushina said, snuggling into Shin's arms and giving Tsunade and Makoto a smug look. Tsunade and Makoto exchanged a look. They would deal with Kushina later. Mei, come with me. You're going to be punished for spreading rumors, Shin said, glaring at Mei Terumi. Can I apologize now? Mei Terumi backed down. She regretted provoking Shin. A good child admits their mistakes. Shin walked over and patted her head. Just when Mei Terumi thought he would let her off, Shin continued, but I don't think you're the type to learn from your mistakes. Shin dragged Mei Terumi away. Mei Terumi cried for help, but all she saw were Kushina's and Tsunade's amused expressions. She's your subordinate, isn't she? And you're just going to stand there and watch? How heartless, Tsunade said to Kushina. Not just her, but you guys are also my subordinates. I'm the Tsukage of Suikagakure. You're just members, Kushina said proudly. Speaking of Suikagakure, Kushina, you're not thinking about developing your village anymore? Makoto asked in surprise. I don't know how to develop it. Let's just leave it as it is. I think it's enough with just us. There's no need to expand. Kushina said, scratching her head. She found it too troublesome and had given up. Half an hour later, Shin returned, followed by a whimpering Mei Terumi. Mei Terumi glared at Shin. He had been ruthless. Her butt was numb. Kushina, Konan, Makoto, and Tsunade looked at Mei's awkward posture, and she wanted to disappear. It was too embarrassing. I look forward to your next blunder, Shin said to Mei Terumi. He had enjoyed punishing her. There won't be a next time, Mei Terumi said with a dejected expression. She didn't know how long it would take for the pain to subside. I might have to go out again in a few days. Do you want to come with me? Shin asked Makoto and the others. No, thanks. I'd rather stay here and relax with some sake, Tsunade shook her head. She had quit gambling but had become addicted to alcohol. What are you going out for? Is it for fun? If not, then I'm not going, Kushina said. She was only interested if it was for fun. No, it's related to Madara's Eye of the Moon plan. Getting rid of Yahiko was technically part of the plan. After all, without Yahiko, the plan would be difficult to carry out. If Yahiko didn't die, Nagato would never become the villain he was in the original story. In that case, I'm not interested. Kushina slumped onto the table. 5 days later, Shin finally received news that Obito had put his plan into action. Hanzo and Danzo were now working together to deal with the Akatsuki. Shin took Konan and Mei Terumi with him. Konan wanted to go with Shin, and Mei Terumi wanted to see the world. Shin, come back soon, Makoto said, waving goodbye. I might be back today. It won't take long. Shin used Yamatsu Hirasaka to teleport to the Land of Rain with Konan and Mei Terumi. Shin-sama, you're finally here. Zetsu rushed over respectfully. What is that thing? It has two faces. Is it even human? Mei stared at Zetsu, surprised. She was right to be suspicious, Zetsu wasn't human. Although you came with Shin-sama, please be polite, Black Zetsu said, slightly displeased. Oh? Black Zetsu, do you have a problem with that? Shin glared at Black Zetsu, making him tremble. No, I don't. Black Zetsu immediately backed down. It seemed Shin was protective of his companions. He would have to be careful. Obito was also there. He frowned when he saw Konan and Mei Terumi. The fewer people knew about the Eye of the Moon plan, the better. Why did Shin bring two women with him? He wanted to question Shin, but considering Shin's strength, he decided to remain silent. That wraps up this part of What If Copy System in Naruto. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.